As a big fan of go first strategies, I think it's just protocol that eventually I was gonna try this deck. Welcome to Altergeist. Hello folks, I'm the Ghost Knife and welcome back to more Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and I know some of you are scratching your head going, Altergeist is kind of a weird deck to try out of nowhere. What's going on here? Well, there's actually a bit of a story behind it. Recently, Konami released brand new altars for Evil Twin Leela and Evil Twin Keys to Kill, and I really wanted to pull them because I love the Sprite Twin deck, and while I was pulling for these, and I did eventually get 1-1 thankfully, I went ahead and pulled for a bunch of Altergeist cards, and instead of getting rid of them, I decided why not give the deck a shot. If you've never seen Altergeist, allow me to explain. The deck features these really crazy looking spellcasters that don't look like spellcasters, they look like machines or Cyberse monsters that like to control your opponent with really powerful traps like Altergeist Protocol and Personal Spoofing. They have some other stuff like Manifestation, which is kind of nice. We've also got Revitalization, which is pretty good, and Haunted Rock, which is just a named trap. That's the reason it's in here. And the main thing that this deck likes to do is use its traps to grind your opponent down for the first few turns, and then go into its really big link plays and stuff like Hextia, and stuff like Prime Banshee, but more importantly, Adminia, who can steal your opponent's monsters, and Memory Gant, who is kind of the worst finisher, but still a good enough finisher in this deck. Also, I pulled a Royal, so I really wanted to give this deck a shot. Anyways, that's the basic gist of the deck, other than being a spellcaster deck with Secret Village. Let's go ahead and get into some games and showcase just what you can do with Altergeist. Alright, getting into our first game here, I'm going first with a kind of awkward hand. I don't have any of the real starters, which is like Meluseek basically, or like Multi-Figure in a trap. So I'm going to go ahead and use Marionetter here to go ahead and set the protocol because it's just one of the best options that I have in this deck. We're going to set a called by, pass, and hope that our hand is enough to try to grind our opponent out. Our opponent's going to go for Ancient Gear Tanker. I'm going to go ahead and use my Altergeist Protocol to negate the Tanker's effect and destroy it, so that way they do not get any of their nonsense off. They're going to try to Ancient Gear Fusion. I'm going to immediately Ash Blossom this. I know this is how Ancient Gear pops off with their deck. I'm just kind of hoping that they bricked with this deck, because I know the Ancient Gear can be kind of bricky. They're going to go ahead and use the Triple Tactics Thrust to go ahead and set a Harpy's Feather Duster, which I can't do anything about right now. They set another card and pass, and we draw into something that's kind of useless. I'm going to go ahead and play the Paratrader to get it in the graveyard. We're going to go ahead and use that to link summon into Linkuriboh, which allows us to put a Pukari in the graveyard. I misread the cards here. I thought I could do something with Pukari from the graveyard, but you have to link summon into an Altergeist Link monster to get it back into your hand. So I'm like, whatever. Linkuriboh beatdown, let's go. 300 points of damage later, my opponent is going to go into their next phase. They're going to go ahead and use Harpy's Feather Duster. I'm going to go ahead and call by their Ancient Gear Tanker to try to stop them from using it again this turn. If they have another one, our opponent's going to go ahead and Harpies our back row, which kind of sucks, but it is fine in this position. They set one card and pass. We draw into another protocol, which is not great, but hey, it's something we can do here. We're going to go ahead and link off into SP Little Knight. I do not know what's going on with that one card sticking out. I apologize. I think it's a little bit of a bug. We're going to use our Altergeist still to bring back our other protocol. They're going to try to Forbidden Droplet, and I don't know enough about Ancient Gears, but I do know that Box is pretty rough to have. I didn't really read the card. I just kind of instinctively called by it because I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with this nonsense. This thing seems scary. We're going to go ahead and banish it from the graveyard for any of its effects activate, which it doesn't upon reading it again because I'm just dumb and I don't know how to read cards. But I do get a second protocol here, which is pretty fantastic. We're going to go ahead and get in with the SP Little Knight beatdown for 800. We have a protocol and a protocol, which we can use one protocol to proc the other to negate more of their effects. We're going to go ahead and activate both, just so we have both online for when they do one of their cards. Basically, since they're both Altergeist cards, we can send one or the other as cost, so we basically have one negate right now. We're going to go ahead and go into their second tanker. We're going to go ahead and use the Altergeist Protocol to negate it, just because that is what I got to do in this situation. Go ahead and negate and destroy the tanker. My opponent ends their turn. It looks like they are pretty heavily bricked up, which is fantastic for us. We draw into an Imperm, which is kind of useless. I'm going to go ahead and just attack with SP Little Knight. set my impermanent pass. There's just not much I can really do. I heavily bricked this game, but I think my opponent did too. They go for a third tanker, and I go for a third tanker negation. We're gonna impermanent this time. No, your starter does not get to do anything. If I don't get to play the game, then neither will you. My opponent passes the turn back to us. This is a hefty game we are playing with our opponent. We're going to attack with SP Little Knight. We can't really do anything with this multi-faker here. I'm going to hold on to it in case I draw another trap, because then I can maybe get some of my nonsense off. We have to have a trap for multi-faker to do anything. They're going to go ahead and activate Gear Town. Nothing else comes of it though. They set one card and pass, and we draw a Secret Village. And I'm hoping that with our multi-faker, this is just enough. They set a troll, we attack with the Orgasm Faker, I mean multi-faker, and then we go into the end phase. And this incredibly long game continues. Our opponent can't activate their fusion spell now, so maybe Secret Village is enough here. We draw into another card that does nothing in this situation. Multi-faker attacks, SP Little Knight attacks. We go to our opponent's turn, and this never-ending game, it seems like. We didn't really do a lot of Altergeist stuff, but we did negate our opponent seemingly to death, as we both bricked out of our minds. It's fine. We get in with the multi-faker for game. So we might not have done a lot of crazy Altergeist things, but we did grind our opponent to 15 turns and win, so I'm pretty happy. Alright, getting into our next game here with my, just honestly my favorite board. I love the music, I love the effects, the Live Twin board rules. We're going to go ahead and normal summon Marionetter, because yet again I don't really have any of my starters. We're going to go ahead and set a protocol, but Pukari can link summon from hand if you have an Altergeist monster on board, which is pretty nice, and then we can bring it back if we make an Altergeist link monster, so we have a little bit more material. It's a kind of way of unbreaking yourself. So we're going to go ahead and link summon into the Altergeist. Hextia is going to bring back Pukari, which isn't great, but I'm going to go ahead and just play the Secret Village with Spellcasters. It is the best thing I can do in my current situation. We do have a protocol just in case we need it. My opponent is going to special summon Cyber Dragon. Set 3 and attack. I'm going to activate protocol here just because it's nice to have. Hextia is going to activate, putting a Malwisp in hand after it gets destroyed. Now one of our starters is in our hand. We're going to use Malwisp to bring back the Marionetter. And on my opponent's turn, on my turn, I can do a lot of silly nonsense with this deck now that I actually have material on board. We draw into the rollback. I'm not going to lie. Nell told me to put this card in the deck, and I still cannot figure out why. I guess it's because it's nice to bring back our traps if we can. But yeah, I don't really know why rollback's in the deck. Somebody please explain to me why this goes in the deck at all when we don't have any ways to put it in the graveyard. We're going to go ahead and bring back the Hextia on our turn with, I think, the Marionetter. I can't remember exactly what I did, but we're going to go ahead and link off into the Adamina with the Pukari in hand, and Adamina is going to, Hextia is going to proc, Adamina is going to proc, and from here I'm going to actually activate Adamina's effect, and from here I'm just going to go ahead and steal the Cyber Dragon, and it's a perma-steal, by the way, which is awesome, and it's treated as an Altergeist. I plan on using it as material, but with the Hextia, we're going to go ahead and grab the Malwisp. We're going to grab a Altergeist Manifestation, which is really good. We're going to go ahead and use the Malwisp to bring back the Marionetter, and from here my opponent just sees they've lost their Cyber Dragon, they've lost their pride, and they scoop it up. So yeah, that's Adamina. It's really powerful, and it's a perma-steal, which is really, really good. Alright, going into our next game here, and both me and my opponent have the best duel field in Master Duel. We don't have a hand, really, but I do have a Secret Village and a personal spoofing, and I'm just gonna hope that's enough. I hope Secret Village with a Spellcaster is enough to shut them down. They're gonna go ahead and go into their Lila. We're just gonna Ash Blossom that. I don't want to deal with it. And then I'm gonna go ahead and personal spoofing the Pukari out of here. I'm gonna do this to grab Malwisp, which isn't gonna do too much, but it is a bigger monster that my opponent can't necessarily run over with Live Twins. I'm hoping that this is enough to stop them and they're not on Sprite, and it just is in the moment. So yeah, good game, I guess, Sprite Twins. Alright, getting into our next game, we are going first. You know, what are the odds? It's kind of like that's how Altergeist wins, but whatever. And this hand's actually pretty good because we have Meluseek, which is a proper starter. We're going to link off Meluseek to go ahead and go into Link Karipa, which lets us start all of our plays. Meluseek is going to allow us to grab Malwisp. Malwisp lets us bring back Meluseek and set up a quote-unquote proper board for Altergeist. From here, we're going to go ahead and link off both of these monsters into Hextia. And this is pretty much our end board other than playing Secret Village and personal spoofing. I will say one of the big things about Altergeist is that they do need a few turns to get going, to get enough materials to snowball into a win. Once the snowball gets going, Altergeist is very powerful, but by modern Yu-Gi-Oh standards, this deck is incredibly slow, so it will struggle if you are considering trying this deck based off of this video. But hey, that's more for the wrap-up. Let's focus on this game, shall we? We're going to go ahead and play these Secret Village with the Spellcasters. They cannot activate spells, and I have personal spoofing, so I can put back this Marionetter and extend into more plays. My opponent is going to play Legendary 6 Samurai Mizuho. Now I know, by modern standards, this deck probably isn't good anymore. But if you know anything about me, you know that I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And quit around 2011-2012. And it's because of this deck. 6 Samurai back in the Synchro era was disgusting. Legendary 6 Samurai Shien, it was one of my most hated cards. And I know, again, this might not be the most epic replay, but this is for all of the trauma. This is for making me quit Yu-Gi-Oh! It's time to make 6 Samurai suffer. So go ahead, they're going to go ahead and use their nonsense. I'm going to use personal swooping to grab Marionette, who's going to shuffle back Marionette into Multi-Faker. Orgasm Faker is going to special summon itself, and Altergeist Sequidulus, whatever this thing's name is, they're going to go ahead and try to get rid of our Secret Village. I'm going to go ahead and use Sill to bounce their Mizo back to their hand. We're going to put Multi-Faker back into our hand so we can personal swooping again and do our nonsense. They get rid of our Secret Village, which is nice. They're going to Rhoda. We're going to Ash Blossom because I just don't want Secret Samurai to get going at all. I know this deck can do some disgusting things if given literally any breathing room, so I'm going to try to shut them down as much as possible. And from this position, we have a pretty awesome hand. We draw into another Marionette. We're going to go ahead and use Marionette to try and set a trap, and our opponent just sees the writing on the wall and scoops it up. That's right, 6 Samurai. You run like the cowards you are. Alright, this is going to be our last replay. Bit of a spoiler, it's not the most competitive replay, but it does showcase just the snowball power of Altergeist in action. So we're going to go ahead and normal summon Multi-Faker, set a manifestation, and play the Secret Village and Spellcasters. The idea behind this is that if they get rid of Multi-Faker, it can bring it back with manifestation, which afterwards it'll special summon it, which will get me the Altergeist Soquitos, which gives me a bounce and also keeps up my Secret Village, which is a pretty powerful setup. And we also have Ash Blossom to negate any of their nonsense. Our opponent's going to go ahead and draw, and they're going to normal summon Cyber Dragon Noxter, and I guess they're just really angry about Secret Village, so they're going to go ahead and attack into it and just show me that they're done with this, which is fine. We're going to go ahead and draw into our Meluseek, which is very, very awesome. I can go ahead and use both of these monsters to link off into Altergeist Hextia, which is an awesome card to go into. We're going to go use Meluseek to go grab back the Malwisp. Malwisp is going to special summon itself in hand. It's going to allow me to bring back Multi-Faker. Multi-Faker does not trigger off of this for some reason. I'm not quite sure why, but it's fine. We're going to go ahead and use Prime Banshee from this position. I'm going to go ahead and use Hextia. It's going to allow me to bring a card back. We're going to tribute the Malwisp to bring back, I believe it. No, we're going to use that to get Hextia, or Multi-Faker, my bad. Multi-Faker is going to be special summoned. Multi-Faker now activates, giving us Silk. We're going to go ahead and use the Prime Banshee and the Silk to summon Memory Gant. Basically our finisher for the deck. We're going to go ahead and use Manifestation to bring back Hextia. Hextia was either Hextia or Prime Banshee. I can't remember exactly. It was Hextia, okay. Prime Banshee activates, allowing us to put the Silk back into our hand. And from here, I'm just going to go ahead and go for game. I'm going to show you how the good old Altergeist OTK works. You have to have Memory Gant, a beefed up Hextia, and any other Altergeist monster you attack with Hextia, and whatever the other Altergeist monster is, Hextia gets an attack boost with whatever it's pointing to, and the down or right arrow, which is very powerful, which allows us to have a 2700 attack monster, whatever attack this is. And Memory Gant attacks, and as it attacks, we contribute to the monster to give it an attack boost to OTK our opponent, and that is the snowball potential of Altergeist. It has a way of getting a lot of materials and just going absolutely nuts and just bursting your opponent to pieces out of nowhere. And with those games out of the way, our time with Altergeist comes to a close. I know they might not have been the most exciting replays, but we did get to showcase the grind game potential as we grinded Ancient Gears for 15 turns, and the kind of bursty potential the deck has thanks to Adminia and Memory Gant once you can get the ball rolling. Would I recommend playing Altergeist in modern times? I'm just gonna be honest, not really. The deck is really old. I think it was one of the first really powerful go first control strategies, and for its time it might have been really oppressive, but by modern standards the deck just does not keep up in any way, shape, or forms. Our quote-unquote starters aren't even really starters. We essentially want to somehow get Malwisp in our hand, and that's our way of getting just a few more materials, and even then it's just not really enough to keep you in most games. The few games I showcased were the few actual wins I got with this deck. Most of my losses just felt like it was I lost the coin flip, they chose to go first, and I can't really do anything going second with this deck. Which is sad, because I do think that Altergeists are really cool, and I'd like to see them get some sort of valuable support to try and bring them back in the meta. After all, I personally really like go first strategies, and these kind of quirky strat-based decks have always been really fascinating to me. I know realistically if I want to play a good go first trap deck I can play Labyrinth, but I don't really want to play that. It's really rare expensive, and honestly it's popular enough that it just doesn't really interest me. So these kind of rogue go first strategies are always going to attract me, but I'm just going to say again, I don't recommend this one. It doesn't live up to today's standards. If you want to play for fun with your friends, go ahead. This is a pretty fun deck, but otherwise, I'd avoid wasting a few hours on this. Anyways, thank you for tuning in, folks. I've been the Ghost with Knife. Hopefully you enjoyed the games we had for you today, and I will see you next time on Master Duel, when we go for a ride with a few new friends. Now get the hell out of here.